So I'm looking ahead at this SEC slate. We talked about that Georgia-Tennessee game throughout this entire week. We're going to talk about it probably some more tomorrow, and I'm sure we will talk about it next week in the wrap-ups of the week. But there's one game that I'm looking at this week, and it's down there, or I guess it's up there in Missouri, against the Gators, who are looking at another 5-7 season. You know, Missouri's a top 10 team. They're going on the road to play them. I see no way that Florida wins this game. And I'm starting to think, I'm looking at this Missouri game and I'm looking at this Florida State game. And the one thing that I've said throughout this entire season that Billy Napier was going to get fired. I said it before the season. I just think he's not a good coach. I don't care how well he's recruiting. He just can't coach. And listen, the commits are starting to flip. I think 3 flipped this week. So he is going to get fired if they do not show life against either of these teams. Now, I don't say he doesn't have to win. But they have to show a pulse in one of these games against Missouri or Florida State, or I think he should get fired. I don't know if he will get fired, but they got to show a pulse.
Yeah, I think it would be dramatically unrealistic. I mean, just insane for his higher-ups to for his job to hinge on one of these 2 games being a win, because both of these teams are just out of Florida's league from a talent perspective alone. And I know that Florida fans don't want to hear that, but this Missouri team is more talented than this Florida team top to bottom. There's no doubt about that. From quarterback to skill position to even the defense is better than Florida's defense. And that's a fall from grace that you just have to laugh at if you're a Florida Gator fan, because it's been a fall from grace for you. You never know what you really had in Dan Mullen, and though he was never going to get the job done, I think you could sit here and say Billy Napier is not a better head coach than Dan Mullen. Yeah, and so to begin the season, Chase has been all over this, and I ridiculed him for it for a few different reasons. One, very rarely does a program of Florida stature fire a coach after just 2 seasons for multiple reasons. But the most important reason is they don't want to send a message out to other potential candidates that, hey, if you don't turn things around immediately, your job is on the line. That's very important to a prestigious football program like Florida. Now we're sitting here and having a completely different conversation, and it seems like it is very possible, depending on how these 2 games go, because I think not only Florida fans are starting to see turn on Billy Napier, but those people who are writing checks are fans too, and they are bigger fans than the fans on Twitter because their money is behind this guy. So if you think the guys on social media are up in arms about Billy Napier and the state of the Florida Gators program, just think about the guys who are writing the check. They are absolutely irate about this. And I do want to say one more thing, because I cannot let Chase get away with this, because if Florida fires Billy Napier, he's going to be strutting around and waving his flag, because he's right. He did call it. But he also called Brent Venables being fired as well. And Brent Venables led Oklahoma to a very productive season. I just want to say that he might be right about the Billy Napier Florida thing, but he was absolutely wrong about Brent Venables in the Sooners.
Venables will be fired at the end of next year. He will. He's coming to the SEC. He'll go 6-6. They'll realize he's not the guy. They'll realize last year was a fluke. He'll be fired. I'm telling you, he's not ready for Oklahoma football, just like Billy Napier wasn't ready for Florida football. I will say, but listen, if I went 2 for 2, I would have been insufferable. So good for you. Oh, yeah. Good for you on not going 2 for 2, because those were 2 probably only had a 5% chance of happening. But the 5% is here. The 5% is here, guys. They're 5-7. Recruits are turning on them, and that's just the state of Florida football right now. Coming up after the break, could Kirk Cousins be the next quarterback of the Falcons?